They took a trip to Costa Rica. I found out from my sister's Facebook. Tropical reset with real family. I didn't respond. Until she sent a message meant for her husband. She still hasn't noticed the villa went on her card. I replied, time's up. Then I froze the transaction and contacted the rental host directly. At 7:44 a.m., I got a notification. Property access revoked. 20 minutes later, Maya texted, "We're locked out with all our stuff inside." I didn't find out they went to Costa Rica until my sister posted a picture from a beachside hammock with a coconut in her hand. The caption read, "Tropical reset with real family." That line stayed with me longer than it should have. I scrolled past it, even though my brain latched on to those last two words like a burr. They left the night before the baby shower. My wife was 7 months pregnant. We'd planned this party for weeks, handmade decorations, rented a space, everything ready to go. Mom had promised to bring the cake. My aunt was supposed to handle the drinks. My sister swore she'd help set up. No one showed. They didn't cancel. Didn't call. Just left the country. At first, I assumed something came up. A last-minute emergency. Maybe someone got sick. I didn't expect them to be sipping cocktails under palm trees while we were cleaning up confetti alone in an empty hall. I didn't message anyone. I didn't like confrontation. I told myself I'd deal with it later. But then, 3 days after the party, I got a message from my sister. No, hey, or sorry. Just a single sentence. She still hasn't noticed the villa went on her card. That's when everything snapped into place. I opened my banking app, stomach twisting. Sure enough, the charge was there. Playa Cielo Villas, $4,682.74. I had to sit down. They used my card. The one I lent Mom months ago when she claimed her bank app was acting up. I let her use it to order a space heater or something, told her to delete it after. She never did. And now they'd used it to pay for a luxury villa in Costa Rica. Without asking. Without even telling me. I sat there, staring at that message. I didn't even think. I typed back, "Time's up." Then I froze the card and emailed the rental host directly. I explained the situation, attached screenshots, flagged it as fraud. I wasn't sure what they'd do. Honestly, I didn't expect much. But the host replied within the hour. At 7:44 a.m. the next day, I got an update. Access to the property has been revoked. No emotion. No drama. Just cold efficiency. 20 minutes later, a message popped up in our family group chat from my aunt. "We are locked in with all our belongings inside." Then, "Can someone explain what's going on?" Then, "This isn't funny, Mason." I turned off notifications. My wife was still sleeping. When she came downstairs, I handed her my phone. She scrolled through the messages slowly, then looked at me. Neither of us said anything for a second. She put the phone down and poured herself coffee. They'd flown to another country the night before the baby shower. They used my card to do it. They posted about it online. And then they laughed behind our backs, thinking we wouldn't notice. My wife sipped her coffee. "So what's next?" I had no idea yet. But something told me this wasn't over. Not even close. By noon, I'd counted 38 missed calls and at least 60 unread messages across text, WhatsApp, and the family group chat. First came the confused ones. "What's going on? Mason, the villa won't open. Can you call the host for us?" Then came the shift, fast and sharp. "You've lost your mind. Grow up. This isn't funny. You're ruining everything." I didn't answer any of them. I was sitting in the kitchen, the same place I sat when I saw that smug coconut photo, watching the chaos grow from silence. The villa was locked. The keycards deactivated. They were stuck outside in sandals and beach clothes while all their luggage sat just inside the glass doors, visible but untouchable. The best part? It was pouring. Rain soaked the sidewalk in front of the property. I knew because my cousin, for some reason, sent a picture to the family chat, maybe thinking it would guilt me. It didn't. I called the rental company again just to make sure everything was solid. The woman I spoke to this time had a kind voice but didn't sound surprised when I explained. Sounded like she dealt with families like mine before. I asked about the luggage, and she said they'd allow a one-time supervised pickup, but only by the original cardholder. So they were stuck. Realistically, they could get the luggage if they cooperated. But I knew they wouldn't. Not without first trying every manipulative trick in the book. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a long message from my mom. I didn't read it immediately. I made a sandwich, washed the dishes, fed the dog. Then I sat down and scrolled through it. She said they were humiliated, that they were scared in a foreign country, and that I was being unrecognizable lately. She asked me if I'd really changed so much that I'd do this to my own mother. She ended it with, "You'll regret this when the baby arrives and you realize how important family really is." I sent back 2 words. "You first." Then came my sister. "You're letting her control you." She wrote, meaning my wife. "This isn't you. She's turning you against us." But it was me. It had always been me. I just never enforced a boundary before. I scrolled back through some older texts for a reminder. The ones where they asked for $200 until payday. Then $500 for a car emergency. Then $1,800 because they were behind on rent. I'd always sent the money. Quietly. Without conditions. Because I was raised to feel guilty if I didn't. That night, my wife walked into the living room, holding my wallet. "What's the plan?" I looked at her and didn't say anything. I think I was still processing just how far my family had gone. She pulled out every credit and debit card I'd ever let them use. The one I lent my mom. The one I co-signed for my dad's balance transfer. Even the emergency card I'd given my sister. Just in case. She handed me my personal card, then held up the rest. "These are theirs, not yours." And before I could say anything, she snapped each one in half. One by one. Then tossed the pieces into a paper bag and threw it in the outside trash. I stood by the door for a long time, just listening to the quiet. No buzzing phone. No pinging group chat. Just silence. I sent one last message before bed. Just one sentence. "Hope the real family helps you figure it out." And then I blocked them all. Every single one. They landed 5 days early. I saw it before they even told me. My cousin had posted a photo of a greasy airport burger and fries with the caption, "Never flying Spirit again. Don't ask." Which was funny, because they flew Delta on the way out. My guess? They couldn't afford return flights on the same airline and had to scrounge for anything cheap. I didn't reach out. But I knew it wouldn't be long before they reached me. 2 days later it happened. I was in the nursery, half listening to a podcast while assembling the crib, when the doorbell rang. I peeked out the front window and saw my mom, sister, and dad on the porch. My aunt and cousin were standing by the car, arms crossed like they were about to watch a street performance. I didn't say anything at first. My wife looked up from the floor, where she was sorting onesies into bins, and raised an eyebrow. I opened the door slowly. Mom didn't wait for an invitation. She walked in like it was still her house. My sister followed, shoes on, dripping entitlement. My dad hesitated, offered a weak nod, then stepped inside behind them. They didn't sit. Just stood in the living room, looking at me like I owed them something. "We need to talk," my mom said. Like I hadn't heard that phrase 100 times before, usually before a request for money. I stayed quiet. "This was way over the line," my sister added. "You locked us out in a different country. Do you know how dangerous that was?" "Real mature, Mason," my mom said. "Canceling the villa like that? You could have called. You could have said something." I didn't answer. She tried a different tactic. "We get it, okay? You're angry. But you don't throw your family under the bus." That was rich coming from her. "You stole from me," I said finally. "We borrowed," she snapped back. "Don't act like you're poor." That was the problem. They thought because I had a house, a stable job, and didn't complain, I was their personal ATM. Every emergency, every overdue bill, every oops we forgot rent again moment, they came to me. And I always paid. Quietly. Without keeping score. Until now. My wife stood up from the nursery doorway. She walked into the room and dropped a piece of paper on the coffee table. Neatly printed. Highlighted rows. Total at the bottom. $5,412. Every single dollar they owed me from the last 4 years. She didn't say a word. "What is this?" my mom asked. "A bill," my wife replied. My sister scoffed. "This is insane. You're letting her do this to us?" I didn't respond. My mom turned back to me. "You really want to talk about money now?" After everything we've done for you? You mean after everything I've done for you? I said. You're about to have a child, she said. Do you really want to cut off your entire family right before that? I'm not cutting anyone off, I said. You did that yourselves. My wife picked up my phone and handed it to me. If they're not gone in the next 2 minutes, I'm calling the cops. That's when the yelling started. Not from me. I didn't raise my voice once. But my mom? My sister? They lost it. Accusations, guilt-tripping, even a threat to challenge me in court for emotional distress. That one actually made me laugh. Eventually, they stormed out. No apologies. No acknowledgement. Just slammed doors and muttering on the way down the steps. My dad stayed behind a second longer. I didn't know they used your card, he said quietly. I didn't know until we got there. Then he left too. That night, after we had dinner and the house was calm again, I sat down with my laptop and filled out the small claims paperwork. $5,000. Clean. I wasn't desperate for the money, but it was about the principle now. The next morning, I got a text from my aunt. You're taking this too far, I replied with the case number. They haven't spoken to me since. They didn't show up to court. Not a call, not a postponement, not even an excuse. Just didn't show. I sat on the wooden bench in that tiny courtroom, waited as the clerk called the case number, and watched the judge glance at the file, raise an eyebrow, and sign off on the default judgment like it was a parking ticket. $5,000. Plus court fees. It took 3 minutes. As I walked out, I held the ruling in one hand, but it felt like I was holding more than that. I wasn't excited, I wasn't smug, I just felt still for the first time in years. Like my life had finally unclenched. When I got home, my wife was waiting with a black frame she picked up from Target. I laughed when she pulled it out, but she was serious. Frame it, she said. You finally chose us. So I did. I hung the court ruling outside my office. Not because I needed a trophy, but because it marked the end of something I'd been too afraid to cut off for most of my life. It was the first time I'd ever set a boundary and watched it hold. No one in the family mentioned the lawsuit. Not even to complain. They just went dark, like the whole thing never happened. But the posts kept coming. My sister put up a selfie with her iced coffee and one of those cryptic captions. Some people teach you who not to be. My aunt shared a blurry picture of herself in front of a church, writing, God heals, but lessons are earned. Then my cousin posted a full carousel from the Costa Rica trip, weeks late, like the whole debacle had been a dream vacation. It was all so performative I stopped looking. Then came my dad's birthday. In our family, birthdays used to be a whole event. Grilled ribs, plastic tablecloths, my uncle bringing over too much beer, my mom bringing out cake like it was a prize. My dad's was always the biggest. They'd planned it for a Saturday, which we usually never missed. But this time? I didn't even pretend to care. My wife and I booked a weekend away instead. Just 2 hours upstate, near a lake, where the only sounds were birds and the occasional boat motor. We sat on the porch of a little rental cabin and ate takeout Thai food on paper plates. She leaned her head on my shoulder and said, This is what peace feels like. I posted one photo. Just the view from the porch. A pine tree against the lake, soft fog rolling in. The caption was short. We're good. No family tags. No baby bump shots. No explanations. But I knew they saw it. Because 2 hours later, my cousin posted a group photo from my parents' backyard. Everyone squinting in the sun, clutching red Solo cups. My sister front and center, doing a peace sign with her tongue out like it was 2010. My dad stood behind her, smiling weakly. My mom wasn't in the frame. There was no mention of me. Not even a fake. Wish you were here. The next morning, my neighbor flagged me down while I was bringing in the recycling. Your folks were around here, she said. Drove past twice over the weekend. I think they were looking at your house. I nodded. Didn't ask for details. The drive-bys didn't stop. Once in the morning, once at night, always slow. No one came to the door. They didn't text. They didn't call. Just circled the house like sharks pretending they weren't hunting. Then a week later, I got a letter. Typed. Folded perfectly. No return address. No signature. Families fight. But what you're doing isn't normal. This is punishment, not love. We forgave you when you were difficult. Now it's your turn. It's time to come home. Home? I didn't even finish reading it. I tore it once down the middle, then again sideways, dropped it in the trash next to the empty coffee pods. They wanted me to feel guilt. But guilt doesn't grow in distance. It dies there. What replaced it wasn't revenge or hate, it was calm. And once you taste calm, chaos just looks like desperation. By mid-October, the money still hadn't come in. The court had ruled in my favor, but I knew how this worked. Getting the judgment was one thing, collecting was another. My dad had nothing in his name. My mom had a credit score you could sweep up with a dustpan. If they thought ignoring the debt would make it vanish, they were wrong. So I filed to garnish my mom's wages. It was easy. She worked part-time at a dental office. Took me 20 minutes and 2 pieces of mail. Within a few weeks, the deductions began. A slow drip of repayment, $217.45 from her first check. That's when the real fury started. She didn't call me. Didn't send a text. She went straight to Facebook. Unbelievable what some people will do to their own mother. Some wounds never heal. Broken heart. There were 100 comments in 2 hours. Friends I hadn't heard from in years chimed in with, "So sorry, stay strong," and "Family is everything, keep praying." She loved the attention. Replied to every comment like she was the victim of a mugging, not a court-ordered garnishment. I didn't respond publicly. But I made sure to send a certified letter to her apartment confirming the garnishment schedule and the remaining balance, $4,782.55. That same week, my sister showed up at my work. I saw her through the glass doors before she even stepped inside. She was dressed like she was going to brunch, sunglasses on, like this was some kind of casual intervention. "You need to stop," she said. I told her I was at work and she needed to leave. She didn't. "You're taking money from our mother. What is wrong with you?" I reminded her that our mother took money from me. Illegally. Repeatedly. Without permission. She said I should have just talked to them. That I didn't need to. Ruin her life. That mom had taken out a payday loan to cover the rent because of the garnishment. I just said, then maybe she shouldn't have spent $5,000 on a beach house. Security walked her out after she started shouting. My boss didn't even ask for an explanation. He just nodded at me like, "Families, huh?" When I got home, my wife was already waiting with her laptop open. "Let's finish it," she said. She'd been tracking the debts they owed beyond the card, random payments I'd forgotten. The electric bill I paid 3 winters ago. The short-term loan I gave my cousin. It totaled another $1,200. I wasn't sure I wanted to go that far. But she looked at me and said, "They would have drained you dry if you didn't stop. Let them feel what they built." So I did. I filed a lien against my dad's car. It wasn't worth much. But it was enough to make them realize I wasn't bluffing. And that's when the messages stopped completely. Not blocked. Not muted. Just gone. Like they'd finally gotten the message. We spent Thanksgiving with friends that year. No drama. No politics at the table. Just food, laughter, and people who didn't see kindness as currency. And for the first time in years, I slept through the whole night. Christmas came and went without a single word from them. No card. No call. No Merry Christmas text. Not even a guilt trip in disguise. It felt strange at first. Not sad. Not even disappointing. Just unfamiliar. Like I'd moved into a quieter house in my own life, and the echo was still adjusting. Our daughter was born the week before New Year's Eve. Tiny, loud, perfect. I held her in the hospital room and thought, she'll never know what it feels like to be used by her own family. That was enough. The hospital stay was short. My wife recovered well, and we brought our daughter home on a snowy morning. It was the first time I'd ever looked at that house, ours, and felt like it had a new purpose. Not just a place to escape from them, but something we were building forward. When the birth announcement went up on my wife's page, the reaction was exactly what I expected. Dozens of friends commented. Kind words. Emojis. Gifts arrived. Diapers, soft toys, handwritten notes from people who actually meant them. From my family? Silence. Well, not complete silence. 2 days later, my aunt posted a photo of a candle and a Bible verse. No caption, but the comments told the story. My cousin wrote, "She didn't even tell us." Someone else said. So sad when families break like this. Another. You'll be blessed for your patience. It was always the same performance. Pain as performance. Grief with an audience. My wife saw the post and asked if I wanted to respond. I said no. In February, my mom's wage garnishment hit its third cycle. I checked the account that held the repayment deposit. Just under $700 had come in so far. It was slow, and it wouldn't all come back, but it wasn't about the money anymore. It was about reality tapping them on the shoulder every 2 weeks, reminding them that things had changed. They stopped trying to contact me. Completely. No letters. No drive-bys. No sudden appearances. I don't know if it was resignation or just embarrassment, but they'd retreated. We booked a trip to Arizona in April. First plane ride with a baby. It was chaos in the best way. Formula leaks, lost pacifiers, crying mid-takeoff, but every second was ours. I posted a picture from Sedona. Just our daughter's tiny feet against the backdrop of red rock and sky. A few hours later, my cousin posted a photo of her own. Same pose. Just her feet, hiking boots, in front of a local trail. The caption was, "Some of us hike for peace. Some of us run from guilt." I actually laughed out loud. They still watched. Still obsessed. Still bitter. But none of it reached me. We came back home to a house that didn't feel haunted anymore. No ghosts of obligation. No footsteps outside the door. Just the three of us, and quiet, and sunlight in the living room where it used to be all shadows. They had each other. All the ones who stayed behind in their drama-filled circle, feeding off each other's wounds like currency. And I had something else entirely. Peace. A new family. A future that didn't include them. And honestly, that's been the happiest ending I could have asked for. Spring slid into early summer without a ripple. My wife went back to work part-time, the baby settled into a nap schedule like some miracle child, and I started feeling something I hadn't felt in years: steady. No fires to put out, no fake emergencies, no guilt-laced phone calls. So when the envelope arrived, I thought it was junk mail. No return address. No logo. Just my name, handwritten, a little crooked. I opened it while standing over the recycling bin. Inside was a check. A real one. From a local law firm. The amount? $5,000. At first, I thought it was a scam. One of those fake overpayment tricks where they hope you'll deposit it and send money back. But it was too accurate. My name was spelled right. The address was exact. The amount was, to the cent, the number from the court judgment. There was a post-it stuck to the check. Just 4 words, written in rushed, tired handwriting. We're square. Stay gone. I read it again. And again. I didn't need to guess who sent it. The law firm was legit. The account it came from belonged to a friend of my uncle's, someone I knew they'd leaned on before, probably desperate to make this all go away. The same people who refused to show up in court, who mocked me online, who spun a whole narrative about being betrayed by blood, had just written a check to erase it. My wife didn't believe it at first. They finally gave up? She said. Why? That was the part one couldn't figure out. Maybe they were tired. Maybe the garnishments embarrassed them. Maybe someone finally convinced them I wasn't bluffing. Or maybe, just maybe, they were scared I'd go further. Because I could have. And they knew it. The post-it told me everything I needed to know. They didn't want peace. They wanted silence. They wanted to make sure I never came back with another lawsuit or claim. Not because they felt sorry. But because I was unpredictable now. I'd stopped playing the part. I'd deposited the check. The next week, I took a portion of it and booked a fall trip for me, my wife, and the baby. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere green. A cabin with no cell signal and trails out the back door. And before I threw the post-it away, I wrote one more thing on it. Silence isn't surrender. Then I tucked it in the drawer next to the framed court ruling. Because whatever story they told themselves, they'd forget one thing. I didn't leave the family. I just stopped being their foundation.